Kemenam Ezendusera. And the question goes thus: how did your expectations compare to reality? And what surprised you about the program? What were your expectations before you commenced the program? When you were applying, what did you think it was going to be? And were there surprises? And what was your reality when you eventually commenced the program?
Thank you again, Chioma and Kingsley. I laughed throughout your explanations because it did reflect a bit of what I also faced. Yeah, my expectations versus my reality. When I was finally accepted into the program, I was very elated, like every other person I could imagine. And I got new pens, got jotters, got everything because I was expecting that, the program will be a very strong academic one where there will be loads and loads of notes to take, will be taught global best practices about public leadership. It will be just this very beautiful or very intense classroom experience because, I mean, what do you know? We're going to be taught by people from University of Oxford. So for me, it was this, I expected this very rigid classroom setting where it would be all about assignments, all about, what is this? Well, giving me frameworks of leadership and public leadership and all of that. But those things were actually there, but not in the shape I thought it would be. And I didn't fully anticipate that what I would get was a much deeper and more personal experience of, this of these things I thought I would learn. Yes, they were there, but not in the way I anticipated. Okay, so what surprised me about the program was that the program will push you beyond the technical aspects. It was much more than technicalities. It was more about self-examination. This program would, make you think not about just what you know or what you have done, but it will also make you analyze or assess how you think, how you lead, and what you do in situations that you face in your everyday life, and then the impact you drive, the reforms you try to make, how you handle challenges and all. So it was much more than any outward kind of, it was more self-reflective. It was as if you were examining your own leadership capacity and capabilities and capacity, So through the program, there were moments when I had to stop to say, are you sure I've had 15 years of experience and I've had to do things all the time I've been doing it? Are you sure I've been doing it right? Are you sure my assumptions and even decisions that I've taken in the past that I thought was all that? This program actually flayed them. It opened all these things for you to reassess your actions. You understand? So that was one of the surprises about the program. It wasn't a very rigid classroom kind of setting. No, it was something that was very interactive, something that was geared towards you learning more about yourself and about your leadership style and about your journey, what you could have done better, what you should do better, and how you can effect change within your present environment. That you don't need to wait until you get to top management level or until you become, because come to think of it, that is what public leadership is all about, So, and then another thing that surprised me about the program was the extent of peer learning and the openness within my cohort. We are cohort 5 and we are known as the legacy builders. And it's so apt. The name is so apt for us because the level, the depth of knowledge I got from people from different countries, different sectors, different contexts that came together to share their experiences very openly. Nobody was trying to show that he or she was an A-star student or an A-star public leader or something. Everybody was open about their successes, about their challenges. So this also created a wealth of very rich learning environment for me as a person. So even though I learned a lot from the faculty, from the Bladvanik School of Governance from University of Oxford, I even learned much more from my peers, from the sharing that, they did, we all had during the sessions. And I gained a lot of perspective, things that I'm looking forward to so that when I see such challenges as have been shared by other people, I immediately know what steps to take, because I learned from people who have gone through it and have been successful and were willing to share their experiences. Also, not to take our time, another pleasant surprise was the practical relevance of what we are taught. What you are taught, you have to take it back to your context. For instance, when you're taught of something, they would ask you, knowing this now, what would you do differently? You know, how do you apply this to your own institution? So it is not something you save for later. The experiences I gained from this program are things that you immediately apply. In fact, I've been using them, leading from the middle, negotiating, and all of that. I've been using them, you know, so it's not something you store for later. It's something that you immediately use to answer leadership questions within your sphere. So yes, I got into the program thinking I would, learn, just academically. But what I did experience from this program, in addition to the academic knowledge, was a shift in my perspective, in how I view leadership, in how I approach problems, in how I lead my teams, and even in how I actually try to learn from my learning. When you do things, you sit back to think, to reflect, why did I do this? Was it the right approach? Is this what I will do next time? And honestly, I would just say that I stood out, I got out from that program an extremely changed person, eager to, drive reforms within my sector in the best way possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for that very wholesome response from reflecting or from projecting and portraying that the program makes you a thought leader. It ensures that it makes you have a mind shift on leadership, on how you should lead as an individual. It also makes you a change agent within your sector and within your line of work. And your surprises of the extent of the practical relevance of what was taught during the program is also very valid, and just further shows how much quality work is put into the AIG Public Leaders Program. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that response. We will go on to the next panel member, Kingsley Tulak, and your question goes thus. What aspect of the program stretched you the most? And then when you answer that, I would also go on to ask you the next question, so it's not too much at once. So please, can you just unmute your mic and respond to that first question? Thank you.
Thank you so much. The aspect of the program that stretched me most was the capstone project. I asked myself that, as a young leader that I am, because I'm just 2 years into this role, the question I asked myself is there anything I can even change in the public service? And then now I'm being asked to run a project and implement this project. What will I even do? So from the onset, I was very confused. I came up with so many projects, but these were actually huge projects that were even beyond my reach. I did not have what it takes to be able to implement or to carry out these projects. So during the very last, I think on the eve of the residential session in Lagos, where we were divided into subgroups, I was in the same group with Omonigo and Bashi. So I presented my project to them. I said, this is what I'm thinking of doing. They said, no, you'll not be able to, Kingsley. You need to start small. And then when it works, you can now expand it to other areas. And so they helped shape my idea. The initial capstone project, which I had, is not what I actually implemented. So discussing with them, they gave me ideas on what I could do, what I should consider, and what I should not consider. So that is how I reshaped my initial idea, and I now focus on collecting and analyzing data in order to guide placement of teachers in the central region of Cameroon, starting with biology and then moving to other science subjects. So that is how this idea was shaped. And that cues up with what Sarah had said earlier, which is the extent of peer learning during this program. If I did not have them by my side, I'm not sure I would have been successful in my capstone project. But you see that Bashi and Omonigo were very instrumental in shaping this initial idea which I had. And then teaching associate Amira too, with the one-on-one sessions that we had. We discussed on this, and she kept encouraging me, Kingsley, it is possible, you can do it, you can do it, keep pushing, what are the challenges, how may I help you, and so on. And the last day when I presented this project, I was in the same group with Sarah. Most of them appreciated the idea. They said it was quite good. And even James, he told me it's a good idea, but we are looking forward to see how well it can be implemented, and we'll see how to replicate that model elsewhere. And just last week, I was discussing with the school principal who told me you have to present the results of this capstone project directly to the regional delegate so that they can use these results in order to place teachers in the region. And he told me when next I meet the regional delegate, I will ask her if you have already presented these results to her, because we need this in order to guide placement. I went to his school is virtually empty, but we have schools elsewhere that are overcrowded with teachers. So that is just to say that the capstone is, to me, I found it as one of the most challenging, but at the end, it's one of those things that I am holding on to, which I really want to see the results being implemented. And that is more of a lifetime legacy for me if I really get to implement that in the public service in my country. And that ties with our name, the Legacy Builders.
Thank you, Kingsley, for that response. So I'm just going to ask you the backup question to that. Now,
Yes,
based
please.
on your experience with the capstone project, do you how has it shaped your approach to your work today? Do you still see work as challenging? Do you see task as almost impossible, or how do you now approach your work today?
Thank you very much. I think that the reason why from the onset I didn't believe in myself is that I wanted to start big. I was looking at the bigger picture, and I had things that were beyond my control. But now I see it as feasible and possible because I started small with the things that I can control before going to the things that I cannot control. And I believe that if I'm able to manage the things that I can control very well, discussing with any other person whose accord I will need in order to carry on and presenting results of what I have been able to do as an individual, it will make it much, much easier. So change is possible, but let us start small, let us believe in ourselves, and then we'll be able to do the bigger things.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Truly, you are a legacy builder. Thank you for that response. And so we would move on. Yes. We would move on to the next question. And the question is directed at Rita. Can you share your experience engaging with the participants from different countries? How was it, and how has it been? Has this enhanced your learning experience? Has it helped you in any way? We would like to hear from you in that regard.
Okay, thank you, Chioma. So you see, here in Zambia, there is a saying that says that a child a child who doesn't move will always think that their mother is their best cook. But then when you go elsewhere, you realize that there are better cooks than your mother. And this was exactly the same. So interacting with participants from other countries has really also shifted the way I look at my work today. First of all, it has broadened my perspective in terms of leadership. And it has also helped me appreciate that one solution cannot always be one size fits all. What may be good for Zambia may actually not be good for Nigeria. What may be good for Nigeria may actually require that we adapt it here in Zambia for it to work. And that I got from interacting with my colleagues. So my thinking has now shifted the way I approach things. I always endeavor to think through a solution because we have a tendency of business as usual. Most of the people in public sector, the way it worked then, it should be the way it should work now. but that is not the case. So interacting with my colleagues, I realized that it was very important also to be culturally sensitive, especially with me who works with different stakeholders in my portfolio here in Zambia, because our organization is a multi-sectoral organization. So that is number one, what I got from interacting with my colleagues from other countries. One ought to be very culturally sensitive. Again, one is supposed to be open to diverse views. You cannot always be correct. One has to learn to listen to others in order to grow up in leadership. Again, in interacting with my colleagues, I got to learn that it is always important to be a good listener, because if you want to take away good leadership nuggets, you have to be a good listener. If you are not, you have to make a deliberate effort to force yourself and become one. And that was one thing that we also learned in communication and storytelling. One has to be very attentive if you need to get a point from that which another person is trying to derive across. Further on, also, with interacting with my colleagues, I learned, or rather, let me say that my collaboration skills were sharpened. There's no one who is an island. For someone to work, you need the support of others. And that also applies even in our workplaces. If you have an idea, don't keep it to yourself. And this is another thing also that I learned from Mr. Frank Nweke. The emphasis on growing others. And this also comes with collaborating with your subordinates, collaborating with your seniors. And this I learned from the AIG program through my interactions with my colleagues. Through those interactions also, I sharpened my negotiation skills. Most of the times we take it for granted that when you're meeting people, you know everything that they'll come with. But then it takes a sharp mind to know what you should get out of a partner, especially if you're negotiating with monies. My organization here depends on donor funding. So that also is something that I learned through one of the exercises that were given by our lecturers who walked us through on the nuggets of how to be a good negotiator. Another thing that I also learned from my colleagues are issues of integrity, something that public sector grapples with, especially when you're at the top. The top is something that is very lonely, and if you don't navigate very well, you may end up making wrong decisions. But with the colleagues that I had, colleagues shared different experiences that they had encountered in the public service. They shared how they had navigated around the same challenges and how they found themselves in the places where they're at right now. So really, in a nutshell, my interactions really exposed me to practical innovations, encouraging also flexibility when it comes to work. And my interactions also actually reinforced the value of shared practices, best practices especially. So this was something that I don't take for granted. I got a lot of lessons from Nigeria, a lot of lessons from Cameroon, a lot of lessons from Tanzania and Kenya. And those lessons are being put to good use, because that is what has actually shaped me into becoming a better leader who is actually implementing that which she has learned from other colleagues, and thus making me a legacy builder. Even when I leave my institution, I'm hoping that I'll leave an indelible mark that will be remembered by those who come after me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita, for this amazing response. It's honestly, it's a round of applause for each and every panel member and Rita as well. It's safe to say that the interacting with peers from other countries or other African countries is a learning experience in itself. And the shared learning also has helped you, and it helped you enhance your learning and your mindset, even from the things you're saying, just portrays that. Again, truly, you're a legacy builder. Just thinking in terms of, leaving a mark that, leaves beyond when you leave office, it's still there, and it's just a very strategically positioned initiative you put down for others to follow. Thank you very much, Rita. Now, to the last question for this section is directed at Dr. Muhammad Sani. And the question goes first. Were there any standout moments for you, either from the faculty members or from mentors, even peers? Were there any standout moments for you that significantly impacted your journey through the AIG Public Leaders Program?
Thank you again, Chioma. Before that, let me just say a bit, since I'm the last person, that all the things that have been said by Sarah, Rita, and the Cameroonian friend, they all resonated very well with me. I mean, Sarah's definition of the program as exercise of self-reflection. I mean, there's no better way to really describe the experience, because, like you said, it's not a textbook really activity. It's self-reflection. You'll be asked to think about things you have done, how you have done them, whether you have done them correctly, whether you would do them differently. Those are the learning experiences that those listening, the applicants, should understand. It's not a textbook experience. It's what you have done and whether you would do it differently or the same way. And then the capstone also was my really tough program. Although, like Kingsley, I didn't take the advice to do something small. I went on with what I was passionate about. It was a big one. It needed funding, but I said, no, that's what I wanted. And it really tasked me. And then my president, of course, I learned a lot from my international friends. Just to give you a joke, we agreed that Rita is going to be president of Zambia, and I'll go over to Zambia and become the minister of health there. So that's a connection that this program has helped me with. Now, coming to the standard moments, it will not be no exaggeration to say that the whole 6 months stood out. The whole 6 months was a standard moment, because every day the faculty will give you something that you need. Some of them you never knew that they existed, but it just came up and you'll be like, wow, this is something I needed for this particular situation that occurred in my workplace. So every moment of those 6 months stood out really. But suffice it to say, the last few days stood out very well for me. Rita and my other friends in Group 4 decided that my project should represent the group at the last day presentations, and I accepted. And then Professor Emily, who's a co-chair, agreed to see me for 30 minutes just to help me with how to make presentations. And the first thing she said when I went was, she just looked at me and said, how do you feel? I said, I'm not feeling very well because I don't like competitions. She said, no, but this is not a competition. It's just for you to go and present the change project that you have done. And that really encouraged me a lot, because I really didn't like the idea of me going to compete with others. I just did my project and I wanted to bring in some change. But her words of encouragement did very well for me on that day. And on the day of the presentation, after I came down from the podium, Dr. Deria Osika, who is a very senior medical doctor, just called me, shook my hand and said, this project must continue. I will support you to the latter. You would have to push on with this project. So the point I want to make is that the level the faculty and members of the foundation will go to encourage you, to make you feel that you are not alone, to make you feel that whatever the weight of the projects you want to achieve, you have support not only in your colleagues, the co-participants, but also the faculty. That was really very encouraging. And that has helped me a lot, because since I came back, I did not rest. I was trying to push on with the reform projects that I said I was going to start. And that was because of the push I got from the faculty, their availability. Whenever you have issues to discuss with them, they respond in a very encouraging way. That's really something I would always, that stood out for me anyway. Those things happened in the last 2 days of the last week, and I would always remember those times, and they are always there. Dr. Delia Wesika gave me her phone number, her email, so when you finish the program, it doesn't mean that you are on your own. You still have people to fall back on. That's the beauty of this program. Besides your colleagues who are now your family, we associate and then ask questions and ask for help whenever we want help. But those more senior people, more experience, are always, and they will let you know that they are always there for you. So that's one big thing you will take away from this program, that I took away from, and I'm really happy that I was opportune to go through this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed Sani. Thank you so much for that amazing response. I was just watching the chat room, and a lot of people are excited already to just be on board this program. And so, just before we go to before we open the floor for the Q&A, I'd like to say that if you want to have a robust experience, this is to those in the chat room, our audience. You want to have a robust experience, you want to enjoy this positive team spirit that you can see with the legacy builders. You also want to learn, practical ways to navigate your leadership journey. Apply to the AIG Public Leaders Program. The link is available. You can share also to those you believe qualify to be on board this program. And like we have all heard from our distinguished panelists, you will not regret the journey. Rather, you will be better for it. Thank you so much to the panelists. Thank you so much to our audience that are here. Right now, we are opening the floor for questions. We'll open the floor for questions from our audience. Please drop your questions in the chat, and we will address them, as many and as much as we can, within the next 15 minutes or thereabouts. And if we have time to accommodate more, we will take them. Right, so let me go to the chat room. Is there any question? Do you have any questions for our panel members? Okay, all right, so let me go to the chat box. All right, so we have questions here, and I will direct this question to Sarah. Sarah, please, someone's asking this question, okay. What distinguishes the AIG PLP from other leadership programs globally? What do you think sets this program apart from the rest globally?
All right, thank you very much. If I may just give a one sentence answer to that, I would say what distinguishes the AIG PLP leadership program from every other one is the practicality of it. Like I said, it was less about a structured teaching or learning where you're giving frameworks, giving the do's and the don'ts of leadership and all of that. No, it was more about what are you already doing when you put it under the microscope, do you think you're doing it right? So you are walked through your own process. It is not something bringing up something from somewhere else. You are like they help you teach yourself what you have done, what you can do better, and they just expose you to areas where you will need um, further growth in, and help you. They equip you actually to also grow in those areas. Now, needless to say that when I say it's all about practicalities, that needless to say that there are no frameworks that were provided. We had very beautiful things that, looking back on, I didn't know that there were things that I was already doing, but this program actually brought them. It actually gave a name to the things that I had already been doing. For instance, leading from the middle, it's like a theme where you are equipped on how to cause change in your immediate environment, making you understand that as a leader, you do not need a title to effect change. You do not need to have a position to change the environment where you are in positively. Okay. Then you are also taught on how to negotiate for public interest. For instance, you have an idea that would, push your service delivery forward, or make it better, or improve it, and you see that there are a lot of bottlenecks stopping it. So this program will teach you how to go about negotiating with such persons who are in the position to, help make this process easier or streamline processes, but are not doing it. It helps you negotiate with them. For instance, you have a boss that is sitting on something that is very, very key. You are taught on how to, take it back to him, design a change project, design something that would be beneficial for both the organization or institution and the citizen at large, but present it to your boss as though it were his own idea. So it would help to make the process seamless. So we're taught on useful and practical things to improve leadership. So I think that stands out. So it's not about when you finish your leadership program, you're now thinking, okay, when will I now be able, or as soon as I'm promoted, I'll be able to do this, I'll be able to do that. No, this program is about here and now, here and now. How do you change what you can change? Things to do within your remit. It's just like when we were also giving our capstone project. I think it came with a very stern warning that you don't have to do anything that will need financial backing, or having to do something that you need to invite one or two or three persons. Do something within your remit. Do something that will not cost you anything. So I think this particular AIG leadership program is about making or building leaders in the public sector that will not be looking for big titles to create change. They will not be looking for a right time, but rather they will seize opportunities. Rather, they would create opportunities. You would create the opportunity for yourself. You see a persistent problem, you don't have to wait until you are assigned. No, you take it up and say, okay, how can we do this better? How can we do this? How can this process be more seamless? How can this process be more simplified? How can I reduce waiting time in my office? How can I make people not come back 2 or 3 times to come and ask for the same thing? So I think this program, like I said when I was answering the first time, it doesn't equip you with the necessary qualifications to wait for the right time. No, it teaches you to start doing it now. Because I remember one of the questions, to add to what Dr. Mohammed said, one of the standout moments with from the teaching sessions was when we were asked, standing up from our program from Lagos, the question was asked, what will you do on Monday morning? That is to say, we are not waiting for you to now, be promoted. No, as you're getting back to your institution, what is the next step? So for me, the practicality of this leadership program is top notch. And I must also commend the faculty here in Nigeria for their responsiveness. If you listen to what everybody has said, When you have an issue, you reach out. James is always there. You hear from Chioma, you hear from Lola. Everybody is there to see you through the process. So even with your admission, with your application process, do not be scared. If you need clarification, just reach out to the lines. Everybody will be willing to help you. But really, I took away the fact that AIGPLP is not all about theory. It's what you can do to improve public service for all, for yourself, for the nation right now. And for me, that's the defining moment. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much. We can't
Can I,
say any
can I,
better.
can I add a bit? Can I add a bit to that?
Oh, definitely. Yes, doctor, please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. I've attended a few leadership programs, mostly in Nigeria, but I think this stands out in the sense that the level of immersion of, I mean, the depth of your involvement in the learning process is different from any other one. I mean, you, like we said, it's an exercise in self-reflection. It's always you thinking of the problems that you face in your own institution, in your own workplace. What did you do? What can you do differently? So at the end, you find out that you are the one finding out solutions to a lot of these problems that are maybe buried deep inside you. With some assistance from the faculty, you find out that you come up with solutions that you never thought you could actually think of. So that self-reflection makes you immersed into this, and the solutions you find to problems, you own them. So you feel, I mean, you really at home with them, because there are things that you have thought of yourself. Some of the things you really would not think that you'd be able to come up with them. But with discussion with your peers, with then discussion eventually with the faculty, you find out that you are part of the solution finding team. The solutions are from you. So you imbibe them and you're able to implement them. So that sets out this leadership program really from most other programs. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so very much, Dr. Sani and Sarah. Yes, we can all attest to the fact that the AIG PLP program creates a safe space for learning. You have your shared learning with your peers. You also are taught on practical, real-time solutions to challenges in your line of work. And you have that encouragement as well, that boost from the faculty during the program, during application, during the program, and post-program as well. And so that just makes it stand out. And we will still encourage everyone in the comment section, apply if you are interested, you're excited. We can feel the excitement from the chat room. Please go ahead and apply. Please share the link with anyone and everyone that you believe qualifies for the program to apply. It's open to every African country, and we are looking forward to having you on board. So I would go on to the next question, and the question is directed at Mr. Kingsley Tulak from Cameroon. And it goes thus: how would you rate your leadership performance since the AIG Public Leaders Program? That question is to Mr. Kingsley Tulak.
Thank you so very much for that question. I want to thank the participant who has sent that question. Very, very insightful. But one thing I would like to start by saying is that this is now leadership in the public sector. This is leadership in the public service. And I can't say that I was initially at 10%, now I am at 20%. But what I can let you know for sure is that so many things have changed, and I will list them one after the other. I'll try to summarize that, how I used to look at it and how I look at it now. You can be able to do the calculations yourself, and you'll be able to evaluate the level of change that has taken place. The first thing is that we work in the public sector, and the public sector, we often believe that instructions come from above, directives come from above, and we just have to align with whatever thing is said to us. But during the one-on-one sessions with our guest speakers, I understood that it doesn't always work like that. There are some instructions that can come and you are not very okay with those instructions, because when you look at the outcome, what the results will be on the field, it is not a good one. But there is a way of telling hierarchy that this might not be good, this could be catastrophic. And one of the ways is to master what your role is. Most of us do not even know what our role is and what text even back up what we are doing. So that's the first thing. You write to hierarchy. We have this set of instructions that have come in. Yes, this is looking good. But on this other part, we fear that this could be the outcome and it is contrary to this particular part of the text which says that we must not do this or we must not do this. That's the first thing. The second thing is even how you look at yourself as a public servant. How do you see yourself as a public servant? Is it all about your job security? Knowing that no matter what happens at the end of the month, your salary is there, whether you go to work or you don't go to work, and so on. But you should understand that the public is looking up to you. You are a model. You are just one in every 1,000 that was chosen to serve the public. And so you should be proud of the fact that you were selected. And because of that, the public deserves quality service from you. The next thing is that you should not just tell yourself that as it was in the beginning is now and ever shall be. No, no, there is need for change in the public service. There is need for change. And you are that agent of change. If you were chosen in 1,000 and brought forward to serve, one of the reasons you were brought forward to serve is to be that agent of change. So what change are you implementing? Change must not be in the form of a project. It is the way you talk to users when they visit you in your office. It is how you get involved in their problems. They have an issue that needs to be solved. There is a file that cannot be found. Are you willing to search those files of 2015, 2014 to be able to bring out that single file and solve this person's problem who has been waiting for the past 10 years, 20 years or so? That is the change that we are talking about here. That is what I can say that has changed so far. And like I said, collaborating with colleagues, those negotiation sessions, they were very, very important. Making decisions which require the interests of the public, your own personal interest, and maybe conflicts with hierarchy. That is where the integrity sessions that we had come in order to help us make decisions that will work to the favor of the public without necessarily hurting hierarchy and without also necessarily thinking only about our own selves and about our own career. So it is difficult to say that I was at 1% and I am at 2%, but what I know is that I am further ahead than I was before I started this program. And there is no turning back. I will keep moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kingsley. I believe you have answered that question to the satisfaction of the person who asked the question. Thank you very much. Before we round off, I'd just like to confirm if there's any more question. Do we have any more questions for the panelists? So we can round off, because I know that my colleagues are in the chat room addressing questions based on at granular level, based on the application criteria and all of that. So if you have such question, please you can drop it in the chat. My colleagues will answer, they will respond to those questions. So I'd like to confirm, let me confirm quickly from the chat room if we have any more questions for the panelists. Okay, we do have a question, and I would throw this question at Dr. Muhammad Sani. And the question goes thus: how impactful is the program experience in your workplace, especially in the face of daunting administrative encumbrances in the public sector? This question is from Emeka Ejim. Um, Doctor, would you like me to repeat the question, or did you get it the first time? Hello, Dr. Sani, are you with us? Okay, I think Dr. Sani may be having a bit of a glitch. So I will throw this question at Rita, right? I'll read it again. Rita, are you with us? Please confirm.
Yes, I am.
All right, so I'll take the question again from Emeka Ejim, and it goes thus. How impactful is the program experience in your workplace, especially in the face of daunting administrative encumbrances in the public sector?
Thank you so much, Emeka, for asking that question. The program is really impactful. First of all, let me start by saying that just after the Lagos residential period that we had, I came back and I continued working as usual. And I did not know that somehow I had actually started creating an impact in the organization. But then I started seeing colleagues approaching my office and telling me that there's something that has changed when it came to the way I was working. And I asked them, what exactly has changed? And people were like, when we're in the staff meeting, the way you were actually speaking to issues, the way you were actually accommodating everyone, you were more strategic, you were more intentional. And I didn't actually even realize that the way I was doing things has actually changed and was actually making an impact within the institution. Other people had already seen it. So the first thing I did, especially that I also wanted to bring in some change through the capstone project that I was doing, I spoke to my superiors for buy-in because I needed certain things to change, especially in the way we carry out business in the institution. Like I had mentioned earlier, the nature of our work is multi-sectoral. So we are at sub-national level, we're at national level, we are literally up to the community level. So I needed a mind shift in the way most of the things are actually done. And I went, talked to my DJ, who gave me a go-ahead, and management. But then I realized that for me to have an impact, other than management, I needed the whole organization. Because sometimes we have a tendency of a top-down arrangement of doing things, and that doesn't work. I have been at the lower level, and I never appreciated that. But what I appreciate is carrying along your subordinates with you if you want to a change in an organization. And that's exactly what I started doing. So firstly, I started by sharing what I had learned because back then I was in the Office of Knowledge Management. And most of the things that we do there, when you have something that you have learned, you have to share. During the staff meeting, you share everything with your colleagues. You write a good report and you get buy-in from others. And bit by bit, I started seeing that there's been a mind shift in the way we are doing things. And by the way, this has just been 6 months because we have just been in the AIG for 6 months. But the change has come so drastic that I am shocked as well. We had a challenge when it comes to retirements. Every time we had auditors, we had a lot of queries that would be flagged. But I emphasized on the need to make retirements timely, and not only timely, but that a retirement has to be full, and that requires a report as well. Because most of the times people will just retire financially without necessarily attaching a report. And that started changing. And that is the impact that comes with this training. There's a way in which they teach you to communicate. There's the way in which they teach you to appreciate your subordinates. We should not always wait for the APAS. The APAS is the appraisal tool that we use here in Zambia. We should not only wait at the time when we're assessing our subordinates to appreciate them on their work well done. No, there's an informal way of appreciating your subordinates. In a staff meeting, you could acknowledge someone, like, oh, so and so did this for the organization, and this is a job well done. And you encourage somebody. One who was demotivated becomes motivated just by that single comment. Again, another thing that we should always endeavor to do is when you have seen that your subordinate is lagging behind, don't leave them. Because at the end of the day, it also reflects on you as a leader. If your subordinates are not performing well, that also creates a question on what type of a leader you are. And ultimately, your leadership style is actually questioned. So if one of your subordinates is not performing, get involved, invite them. Make sure that your office has an open door policy where people are free to come and get clarity, people are able to inquire, and where you can actually help your subordinates to become better people. Most people in the public sector are demotivated. There's a lot of red tape, there's a lot of bureaucracy. And if you're not strong enough, you leave the public sector and join the private sector. But the public sector is very good, especially if you have leaders who know why they are there. So let us not frustrate our system in order for us to create impact. No, we should always carry along those that are below us, as well as getting buy-in from our superiors. By so doing, then you should be able to create impact in your organization, because that is exactly what I have done. Make sure you congratulate your staff. Don't wait for the time of appraisal. At every level that they have given in their best, appreciate them. I remember Madam Hadiza saying, if you are a janitor, make sure you clean the environment to your level best. And once someone does that, appreciate them. You are motivating them. And in that way, together with your subordinates, you'll be able to create impact in your workspace. I submit.
Thank you so much, Rita. Thank you so much to each and every panel member. You can see that, Emeka, I believe your question has been answered. And you can note or point out the fact that the legacy builders have wealth of experience that we can all learn from. Thank you so very much to everyone. Just before we close out, we would not be taking further questions. However, if you have any question or you have more questions, you can refer to the FAQ section on the website of the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation. There you will get responses to your questions, or you can email. You can send an email, reference the website to get the right email to contact, and we will be more than glad to answer your questions. To round off, I would like to just read out a comment from, I think, a LinkedIn user from the chat box. It was very catchy, and so I would read it out. And it reads thus: hello, everyone. What a brilliant program. It has answered more than I thought. Our public sector surely has lagged behind so much, relying so much on ideas from the past without adapting and changing to fit the dynamic world. In reference to the AIG Public Leaders Program, he or she says that this is the program I am looking forward to joining, because working in a disaster sector demands dynamism and adaptation to bring about resilience and recovery. And this person goes on to say, I am from Kenya, and working with communities demand great leadership. And he ends by saying, this is the program that can bring the big change from small ideas. Very much in tune with what Kingsley said. And he says, open mind, an open mind is all that is needed. Thank you so much to this participants on this call. We appreciate this feedback, and we are looking forward to your application. And so with that, we'd like to thank each and everyone for engaging in this discussion. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed Sani. Thank you, Kingsley. Thank you, Rita. To those who are at the back end coordinating, thank you very much. The insights shared today will no doubt provide valuable guidance to prospective applicants. And on behalf of the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to our panelists for so generously sharing their experiences. And to all our attendees for joining today, we encourage you to apply for the AIG Public Leaders Program and take advantage of this truly transformative opportunity. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. I remain your humble moderator, Chioma Ogugwa, Programs Associate, Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation. Thank you so much and have a blessed evening. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Choma, for having us.
Thank you. You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much for the opportunity to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. You're welcome, Sarah. Thank you
So
so much.
let's just start with a nice, easy one. What have you learned about leadership and public service over your incredible career? What's the most important things that you would tell your younger self?
As a public servant, the best thing that really makes me have the impetus is being called a servant. I realize that there is power in servanthood.
Let me tell you things about leadership that you may not think about. Leadership is all about setting standards. I feel that the greatest leaders are leaders who know that their self-interest is connected to the interest of others.
The interactions that have been very valuable to me during the week, first is the integrity session where we had to tell our stories. That was very interactive. We listened to each other. We learned how to tell our stories in a manner that really was very meaningful to us and to the people that were listening to us.
One of the experience I've gathered, probably even two, not just one, from this PLP program is on leading from the middle and storytelling.
I think I'm the most inspired when I see participants start to shift their thinking on A, how to lead from middle, and then B is to think about how to maintain integrity, but at the same time finding innovative solutions when thinking about how to change the system.
You need to promote a culture of integrity, excellence, transparency, and accountability in the public service. You need to be examples. You need to be the salt. Yeah, you need to be the light. That is what we expect of you. You need to be different. You need to stand out. We have invested a lot in you, and this is what we ask in return. Yeah. Thank you very much.